What if the fastest way to make someone fall in love with you is not to chase them, impress them, or desperately seek their attention? What if the very thing that makes you more desirable is learning how to stand completely on your own? Most people destroy attraction before it even has a chance to grow. They text too much, explain too much, give too much, and desperately try to prove that they are worth loving. But attraction does not grow from desperation. It grows from curiosity, confidence, emotional depth, and the feeling that there is something about you that cannot be easily replaced. When you stop trying to convince someone to choose you and start becoming someone you genuinely respect, the entire dynamic changes. Your attention becomes more meaningful, your presence becomes more noticeable, and suddenly, instead of chasing their interest, you give them a reason to become curious about yours. There is a powerful psychological difference between wanting someone and needing someone. Wanting creates movement, needing creates pressure. When you genuinely like another person, there is nothing wrong with showing interest. The problem begins when their response becomes the measurement of your worth. You send a message and immediately wait for the reply. You notice they have not responded and begin imagining explanations. You change the way you speak because you are afraid of losing their interest. You start giving more than the relationship has earned because you believe that if you prove yourself enough, they will finally choose you. But love cannot be negotiated like a contract. You cannot convince someone to feel something they do not feel. You cannot force emotional connection through constant availability. And you cannot create genuine desire by abandoning yourself. The strongest position is different. You become interested without becoming dependent. You show affection without surrendering your identity. You give attention without making attention your currency for approval. You allow another person to see your interest, but you also allow them to discover that your life existed before they arrived and will continue to exist whether they stay or leave. That difference is felt immediately. A person who has their own direction carries themselves differently. They do not need to dominate every conversation. They do not need to prove that they are impressive. They are not constantly searching the other person's face for approval. They can listen because they are not busy performing. They can laugh because they are not calculating every reaction. They can express interest because rejection does not destroy their sense of self. This is where attraction begins to become natural. You are no longer asking, how can I make this person love me? You are asking, who am I becoming, and does this person genuinely fit into that life? That question changes the entire psychological balance, because when you have no life of your own, another person can easily become your entire emotional world. Their message becomes your excitement. Their silence becomes your anxiety. Their approval becomes your confidence. Their rejection becomes your humiliation. You begin living according to their emotional weather. But when your life has substance, your emotional center remains within you. You have goals that require your attention. You have work that challenges you. You have interests that make you curious. You have friendships and relationships that matter. You have standards. You have routines. You have something you are building. This does not mean pretending to be unavailable. It means actually having a life that you do not abandon for someone else's attention. There is a subtle mystery in that kind of person, not because they are hiding themselves, because they are not revealing everything at once simply to secure approval. They have depth, there are stories behind their confidence, there are ambitions behind their calmness, there are experiences behind their opinions. There are parts of their personality that become visible gradually through genuine connection. That gives another person something important: discovery. And discovery creates curiosity. If you reveal your entire emotional world within the first few conversations, constantly explain your feelings, constantly seek reassurance, and immediately make another person the center of your attention, there is little space for natural discovery. But when you remain authentic while allowing the relationship to unfold gradually, curiosity has room to breathe. This does not mean playing games. Do not deliberately ignore someone to make them chase you. Do not delay every message as a strategy. Do not pretend that you are too busy when you are not. Do not create jealousy to manufacture desire. Those tactics may create temporary emotional reactions, but they do not create the foundation of healthy love. Real attraction becomes stronger when your behavior is consistent with who you actually are. If you are busy, be busy. If you are interested, show interest. If you want to spend time together, make the invitation. If they respond positively, enjoy the connection. If they do not, accept the information without turning it into a personal crisis. That last part is crucial. You must become comfortable with the possibility that someone you like may not choose you, not because you expect rejection, because you understand that attraction must be mutual. This removes desperation from your behavior. You are no longer trying to win someone at any cost. You are discovering whether the two of you genuinely belong together. And that is a much healthier form of attraction. Think about the difference between someone who says, "Please like me," and someone whose behavior quietly communicates, "I like you and I would enjoy getting to know you, but I will not abandon myself to make that happen." The second person creates a completely different emotional experience. Their affection feels chosen, their attention feels meaningful, their presence feels grounded. They are not cold. They are not arrogant. They are simply secure enough to remain themselves. That security is attractive because it removes the burden of emotional responsibility from the other person. They do not have to constantly reassure you. They do not have to manage your insecurity. They do not have to prove that they are interested every hour of every day. Instead, both people have room to move toward each other freely, and freedom is essential to genuine love. You can create attraction, but you cannot force love. You can become more confident, more interesting, more emotionally intelligent, and more grounded, but the other person still has their own choice. Respect that choice. Because the fastest way to become more attractive is not to become obsessed with making someone fall in love with you. It is to stop measuring your worth by whether they do. Build yourself. Strengthen yourself. Develop a life you genuinely enjoy. Become someone whose attention has meaning because it is not given desperately to everyone. And when you meet someone you truly admire, let them see the real you without turning them into the source of your identity. The goal is not to make someone unable to live without you. The goal is to become someone who can love deeply without losing themselves. And when two people who are already whole choose to move toward each other, attraction has something far more powerful than manipulation behind it: genuine choice. Because the most attractive person is not the one desperately trying to be chosen. It is the person who has built a life they respect and can invite someone into without ever abandoning it. There is something more powerful than trying to impress someone, making them feel genuinely understood. Most people approach attraction as if it were a performance. They think about what to say, how to look impressive, what stories to tell, and how to make themselves appear more desirable. They spend so much energy presenting themselves that they forget one of the simplest truths about human connection. People are deeply drawn to those who make them feel seen. When someone feels that you are actually paying attention to them, not just waiting for your turn to speak, the experience can be surprisingly powerful. Think about the rare people you remember years later. It is not always because they were the funniest, most attractive, or most successful person in the room. Sometimes you remember them because they noticed something about you that everyone else overlooked. They remembered a small detail you mentioned weeks ago. They asked about something that mattered to you. They listened without constantly turning the conversation back toward themselves. You felt visible around them. That feeling can become the beginning of emotional connection. But there is a difference between genuinely understanding someone and studying them like a strategy. If you approach another person with the mindset of, "I need to learn exactly what makes them vulnerable so I can make them fall for me," you have already turned connection into manipulation. Real intimacy requires curiosity without exploitation. Instead of searching for weaknesses, look for meaning. What do they care about? What makes them light up when they speak? What experiences shape the way they see the world? What ambitions do they rarely discuss? What do they value when nobody is watching? What kind of life are they trying to build? These questions take you beyond surface level attraction because physical attraction may capture attention, but emotional understanding creates depth. Imagine talking to someone who keeps interrupting you because they are preparing their next impressive story. You may notice their confidence, but eventually you realize that they are not really interested in you. They are interested in how you perceive them. Now imagine someone who is confident enough to listen. They ask a thoughtful question. They remember your answer. They notice when your tone changes. They understand that there are emotions behind your words. They do not interrogate you. They do not force you to reveal things. They simply create enough space for you to become comfortable being yourself. That kind of presence can feel unusually safe, and safety matters because people rarely reveal their deeper selves when they feel judged. If you want genuine emotional connection, learn to listen without immediately trying to fix everything. Sometimes a person is not asking for a solution. They are asking to be understood. Sometimes they are not looking for advice. They are trying to make sense of their own feelings by speaking them aloud. If you constantly interrupt their emotional process with solutions, comparisons, or stories about yourself, you may accidentally communicate that their experience is less important than yours. Instead, stay present, ask questions that help them explore what they mean, listen to the emotion beneath the words. Notice what they become passionate about. Notice what they avoid. Notice what makes them laugh naturally. But remember, observation should create understanding, not judgment. Everyone has contradictions. Someone can be confident in one part of life and insecure in another. Someone can appear independent while secretly valuing deep connection. Someone can be ambitious and still fear failure. Someone can have strong opinions while remaining uncertain about their future. Do not rush to label these contradictions. Let them exist. Human beings are complex, and genuine attraction becomes deeper when you become interested in the whole person rather than the image they present. This also means resisting the temptation to constantly impress. You do not need every conversation to become a demonstration of your intelligence. You do not need to have the funniest response. You do not need to turn every story into evidence of your success. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is allow another person to have the spotlight, not because you are trying to manipulate them into liking you, but because you are genuinely interested in who they are. And something interesting happens when you stop performing. You become more relaxed. The other person becomes more relaxed. The conversation becomes less calculated. Instead of two people trying to win approval, you have two people discovering each other. That is where chemistry has room to develop. But there is another important element. Remember what they tell you. If they mention an important goal, ask about it later. If they tell you about something they love, remember it. If they describe an experience that shaped them, do not casually dismiss it. Small acts of attention communicate something enormous. What you say matters to me. This does not require grand romantic gestures. Sometimes it is a simple question. Sometimes it is remembering a detail. Sometimes it is recognizing that they are quieter than usual. Sometimes it is giving them your full attention instead of constantly checking your phone. These small moments accumulate. They create emotional familiarity. And emotional familiarity can become attachment because the person begins associating your presence with being understood. But do not confuse this with becoming their therapist. A healthy relationship is reciprocal. You should listen, but you should also allow yourself to be known. You should understand them, but they should also become curious about you. You should create emotional safety, but you should not become responsible for repairing every wound they carry. The strongest connection is not one person endlessly giving while the other endlessly receives. It is two people gradually revealing themselves and discovering that their values, personalities, and hopes have meaningful points of connection. This is why the fastest path toward deeper attraction is not learning how to control someone's emotions. It is learning how to create an environment where authentic emotions can exist. Do not listen merely because you want them to fall in love with you. Listen because you genuinely want to know who they are. Do not remember details merely because they make you appear attentive. Remember them because the person matters enough for you to care. Do not ask questions simply to keep them talking. Ask because their inner world genuinely interests you. When your attention is sincere, people can feel the difference. And that sincerity creates something no psychological trick can manufacture: the feeling of being genuinely seen. When someone feels safe enough to be understood rather than impressed, attraction can begin transforming from simple interest into genuine emotional connection. There is a stage in attraction where attention alone is no longer enough. Someone may enjoy your company, appreciate your personality, and even feel comfortable around you, yet something is still missing. There is no anticipation, no sense of discovery, no feeling that there is more to understand. Everything is already known, already explained, already available. And when nothing remains to discover, curiosity begins to disappear. This is where mystery enters. But understand what mystery really means. It does not mean lying. It does not mean pretending to be unavailable. It does not mean deliberately confusing someone or withholding affection to make them anxious. Those are games, and games eventually destroy trust. Healthy mystery is simply the space that allows two people to discover each other gradually. You do not reveal your entire emotional world in one conversation. You do not tell someone every dream, fear, wound, achievement, and secret simply because you want them to feel close to you immediately. You allow connection to unfold naturally. Think about a great story. If the entire ending is revealed in the first 5 minutes, the audience has little reason to remain curious. What keeps them watching is the gradual discovery of characters, motives, conflicts, and possibilities. Human attraction often works in a similar way. When someone meets you, they should not need to understand everything about you immediately. They should notice something interesting, then something unexpected, then another layer. Not because you are performing a character, but because you are a real person with depth. Perhaps you are passionate about something they did not expect. Perhaps you have an unusual perspective. Perhaps your calmness hides ambition. Perhaps your confidence comes from experiences you do not immediately discuss. Perhaps your life contains interests and goals that existed long before they met you. These layers create curiosity, and curiosity can keep attention alive. This is why you should resist the temptation to constantly explain yourself. When someone misunderstands a small detail about you, you do not always need to write an essay defending your intentions. Sometimes people need time to observe you. Your behavior will eventually reveal more than an explanation could. The same principle applies to communication. If you are constantly sending messages simply to maintain contact, you can accidentally remove the natural rhythm of anticipation. Every thought does not need to become a message. Every moment of silence does not need to be filled. Sometimes you have something meaningful to say. Say it. Sometimes you want to invite them somewhere, delight them. Sometimes the conversation naturally ends. Let it end. The goal is not to create artificial scarcity. The goal is to allow space for genuine desire to develop. When two people have separate lives, they naturally have experiences to bring back into the relationship. You go through your day, they go through theirs. You learn something, they experience something. You develop a new interest. They discover something that excites them. Then you come together and share those worlds. That creates movement. There is always something new to discuss, something new to discover, something new to experience. Compare this with a relationship where one person immediately makes the other the center of everything. They spend every available moment together. They message constantly. They expect immediate replies. They want to know every detail of the other person's day. At first, it may feel intense, but intensity is not always depth. Sometimes intensity is simply anxiety disguised as passion. Healthy attraction needs room to breathe. This is why you should maintain your individuality, even when you become emotionally interested in someone. Keep your routines. Keep developing your interests. Keep seeing your friends. Keep pursuing your goals. Keep learning. Keep becoming, not because you want to make the other person wonder where you are, because you were already a complete individual before they arrived. And paradoxically, that independence gives gives the relationship more value. Your time together becomes something you choose rather than something you require. Your stories have more depth because you are continuing to experience life. Your personality continues developing. You remain interesting because you remain alive to your own world. There is also another form of mystery that comes from emotional depth. Do not reveal every reaction immediately. If something surprises you, take a moment to process it. If something bothers you, communicate when you understand what you are actually feeling rather than reacting impulsively. If someone asks about your past, share honestly, but do not feel pressured to expose every painful detail before trust has been established. Vulnerability is powerful, but timing matters. The deepest parts of you should be shared where there is mutual trust, not offered instantly in exchange for closeness. When you reveal yourself gradually, the other person has the opportunity to earn deeper access. That makes intimacy meaningful. But there is a line you must never cross. Do not use mystery to create insecurity. Do not disappear to make someone anxious. Do not intentionally make them jealous. Do not give affection one day and withdraw it the next simply to keep them guessing. That may create obsession, but obsession is not the same as love. You are not trying to make someone emotionally unstable. You are creating space for genuine curiosity. There is a profound difference. Manipulation asks, how can I make them afraid of losing me? Healthy attraction asks, how can we continue discovering each other while remaining free to choose this relationship? The second creates something sustainable. And remember that mystery works both ways. Do not become so focused on being interesting that you forget to remain curious about the other person. You should want to discover them too. Ask about their dreams. Notice how they think. Learn what makes them passionate. Discover what experiences shape them. Let them surprise you, because attraction becomes deeper when both people feel that there is still more to learn. You are not trying to solve each other like puzzles. You are continuing to discover each other as human beings. That is what keeps connection alive long after the first attraction fades. So do not rush intimacy. Do not reveal everything because you are afraid they will leave. Do not force closeness because you want certainty. Let time participate in the process. Lom's actions to reveal character, Lon conversations to become deeper naturally, Lon's experiences to create memories. Allow curiosity to become familiarity, and familiarity to become trust. The strongest attraction does not come from hiding who you are. It comes from having enough depth that there is always another genuine layer to discover. Asterisk, do not manufacture mystery to make someone chase you. Build a life and character so rich that genuine connection naturally gives them more to discover. There is a moment in attraction when you must learn one of the most difficult lessons. Wanting someone deeply does not mean you should make them the center of your emotional world. In fact, one of the fastest ways to weaken a promising connection is to become so focused on keeping someone interested that you stop living your own life. At first, constant attention can feel romantic. You want to talk all day. You want to know what they are doing. You want to respond immediately. You want reassurance that their feelings have not changed. You begin measuring the relationship by how frequently they contact you, how quickly they respond, and how much attention they give you. But slowly, attraction can become pressure. The other person begins to feel that your emotional stability depends on their behavior. If they are available, you feel secure. If they become busy, you become anxious. If they need space, you interpret it as rejection. If they do not respond the way you expected, you start searching for something you did wrong. This is where desire becomes dependence. And dependence can destroy the freedom that attraction needs. You must understand the difference between being emotionally connected and being emotionally dependent. Connection says, I value you, I enjoy being with you, and I want to build something meaningful with you. Dependence says, I need your attention to feel secure, and I will change myself to prevent you from leaving. The first creates intimacy, the second creates pressure. This is why you must keep your own center, even when you become deeply interested in someone. Continue working toward your goals. Continue spending time with people who matter to you. Continue developing your interests. Continue taking care of your body and mind continue learning, continue building the life you were creating before this person entered it. You are not doing these things to make them jealous. You are not pretending to be unavailable. You are not trying to make them chase you. You are simply refusing to abandon yourself. And there is something deeply attractive about someone who can love without losing their identity. Imagine two people who genuinely enjoy each other. They talk, laugh, share experiences, and become emotionally closer. But neither person needs constant reassurance. They can spend time apart without assuming the relationship is collapsing. They can focus on their individual responsibilities without guilt. They can miss each other without turning that feeling into anxiety. There is space. And within that space, desire has room to exist. This is why you should never confuse constant contact with emotional closeness. You can speak to someone for 12 hours a day and still know very little about how they truly think. You can spend every evening together and still be emotionally disconnected. And you can spend some time apart while becoming more appreciative of each other's presence. The quality of connection matters more than the quantity of contact. When you are together, be present. When you are apart, live. That balance creates a healthier form of attraction. It also protects you from a dangerous habit, seeking reassurance every time uncertainty appears. You do not need to ask, "Do you still like me?" Every time their behavior changes slightly. You do not need to analyze every message for hidden meaning. You do not need to panic because they had a busy day. You do not need to create tests to measure their feelings. If something genuinely concerns you, communicate directly, but do not turn every temporary uncertainty into an emotional emergency. Trust is built partly through learning how to tolerate uncertainty. You cannot know exactly what another person is thinking at every moment, and you should not need to. A mature relationship is not built on constant surveillance of emotions. It is built on communication, consistency, respect, and freedom. This is also where standards become important. Being interested in someone does not mean accepting everything they do. You should know what you value in a relationship. You should know what kind of communication you need. You should know what behavior you cannot accept. You should be able to say no. You should be able to disagree. You should be able to walk away from something unhealthy. Because if you become so afraid of losing someone that you tolerate anything, you are no longer building love. You are protecting attachment. An attachment without standards eventually becomes resentment. Real attraction becomes stronger when both people understand that they are choosing each other freely. You do not need to control the person. You do not need to monitor them. You do not need to make them afraid of losing you. You simply need to remain grounded in who you are. If they choose you, beautiful. If they need space, respect it. If they communicate openly, meet them with openness. If they consistently show genuine interest, allow the relationship to deepen. If they repeatedly show that they do not want the same thing, accept the truth instead of trying to force a different outcome. Your dignity should not depend on winning someone over. This is especially important because some people confuse emotional distance with power. They think the secret to attraction is withholding affection, ignoring messages, creating jealousy, or deliberately making someone uncertain. That may create temporary tension, but tension is not trust. Fear is not love. Obsession is not intimacy. The goal is not to make someone emotionally dependent on you. The goal is to create a relationship where both people genuinely want to return to each other, and that requires freedom. When you have your own life, your affection becomes a gift rather than a demand. You are not saying, "I need you to complete me." You are saying, "I have a life I value, and I would love for you to be part of it." That is a much stronger position because you are no longer asking another person to become your entire world. You are inviting them into a world that already has meaning. And when two people maintain that balance, attraction has room to mature into something deeper. So protect your individuality. Do not disappear to create desire. Do not manipulate distance. Do not become cold. Simply remain yourself. Love deeply, but keep your center. Give affection, but keep your standards. Make time for someone, but do not abandon your purpose. Let them feel your presence without making them responsible for your peace. Because the most powerful attraction is not created when someone becomes afraid of losing you. It is created when two people freely choose each other without either person having to lose themselves. Attraction may begin with curiosity, but love cannot survive on curiosity alone. Eventually, the excitement of discovery has to meet something deeper: trust. A person can be fascinated by you, attracted to you, and eager to spend time with you, but if they never feel emotionally safe around you, that attraction may remain temporary. The deeper connection begins when someone realizes that they can be themselves in your presence without constantly worrying about being judged, controlled, mocked, or abandoned. This is where emotional safety becomes one of the most powerful forms of attraction. People remember how you make them feel. They remember whether they could speak honestly around you. They remember whether you listened when something mattered to them. They remember whether their vulnerability was respected or later used against them. They remember whether disagreements became opportunities for understanding or weapons used to hurt each other. And this is why trying to appear perfect can actually work against you. You do not need to present yourself as someone who never struggles, never makes mistakes, and always knows exactly what to say. Perfection creates distance because nobody can genuinely connect with an image. People connect with humanity. If you make a mistake, own it. If you misunderstand something, listen. If you hurt someone unintentionally, apologize without turning the apology into an excuse. If you do not know something, admit it. There is strength in being comfortable enough with yourself to say, I was wrong. That kind of confidence is different from arrogance. Arrogance protects an image, confidence protects the truth, and people can feel the difference. Imagine being around someone who becomes defensive every time you disagree with them. You cannot express an opinion without preparing for an argument. You cannot explain your feelings without being told that you are overreacting. You cannot make a mistake without being punished emotionally. Even if there is strong attraction, eventually you become tired. Now imagine being with someone who can disagree without disrespecting you. Someone who listens before responding. Someone who can say, I understand why you feel that way. Someone who does not immediately turn every disagreement into a battle for dominance. That person creates peace without becoming passive. And peace is powerful. But emotional safety does not mean becoming endlessly agreeable. This is where many people misunderstand kindness. They think that if they want someone to love them, they must always say yes, always be available, always agree, and never challenge the other person. That is not emotional safety. That is people-pleasing. A healthy connection requires honesty. You should be able to express what you want. You should be able to say no. You should be able to disagree. You should have boundaries. You should have your own opinions. You should be able to tell someone when their behavior has hurt you without trying to destroy them in return. Real emotional security allows two people to remain individuals while still feeling connected. And this is where your individuality becomes important again. The person who has no standards may initially appear easy to love because they agree with everything. But eventually, the other person may begin to feel that they do not truly know who they are. What do you actually believe? What do you actually want? What are your values? What are you unwilling to compromise? What kind of life are you trying to build? Love becomes deeper when these things become visible. You should not become a mirror that simply reflects whatever another person wants to see. Be warm, but be real. Be understanding, but maintain standards. Be affectionate, but remain honest. Be open, but do not reveal yourself simply to gain approval. And most importantly, become someone whose behavior is consistent. Consistency creates trust because people stop having to guess which version of you they will encounter. If you are kind one day and intentionally cold the next because you want to create emotional uncertainty, you may create tension, but you will not create safety. If you say you care but repeatedly disappear whenever something becomes difficult, your words lose their meaning. If you promise something, make an effort to follow through. If you cannot, communicate honestly. Trust is built through small repeated experiences, a message answered with sincerity, a promise kept, a private conversation respected, a boundary honored, an apology accepted, a disagreement handled without cruelty. These moments may appear ordinary, but they create the emotional foundation upon which deeper attachment can grow. And there is another powerful element. Do not rush someone else's vulnerability. If someone shares something personal with you, treat it with respect. Do not immediately turn it into a weapon during an argument. Do not tell other people their private stories simply because you are angry. Do not use their insecurities to gain control. When someone discovers that their vulnerability is safe with you, trust deepens, but remember that trust must be mutual. You should not become the only person creating emotional safety while receiving none in return. You deserve the same respect you offer. You deserve someone who listens, someone who communicates, someone who respects your boundaries, someone who can handle your honesty, someone who does not make you earn basic kindness. Because love is not about becoming so valuable that another person becomes dependent on you. It is about creating a connection where both people feel respected enough to remain honest and free. This is why emotional safety and mystery must exist together. You can be safe without becoming predictable. You can be trustworthy without becoming boring. You can be honest without revealing every part of yourself immediately. You can have strong boundaries while remaining warm. You can create comfort while still maintaining individuality. That combination creates something rare. The other person feels that they can relax around you, but they also continue discovering you. They feel accepted, but they do not feel controlled. They feel close, but they do not feel trapped. And that is where attraction can begin transforming into something much deeper. So do not focus only on how to make someone excited by you. Ask yourself a more important question. Can this person feel safe being themselves around me? If the answer is yes, and they make you feel equally safe, you have created something far more valuable than temporary attraction. You have created the foundation on which genuine love can grow. Asterisk, the strongest connection is built when someone feels both the freedom to be themselves and the confidence that their heart is safe in your presence. And now we arrive at the most important truth of all. You cannot truly make someone fall in love with you. You can create attraction. You can build emotional connection. You can become more confident, more interesting, more attentive, and more emotionally mature. You can create the conditions where love has a chance to grow, but the final choice must always belong to the other person. This may sound like a limitation, but it is actually freedom. Because the moment you stop trying to control whether someone loves you, you stop living in fear of losing their approval. You begin to understand that attraction is not a battle you have to win. It is a process two people participate in, and that changes the way you approach everything. Instead of constantly asking, how can I make this person want me? You begin asking, do we genuinely want each other? That is a much more powerful question. It shifts you from performance to observation. You stop trying to convince someone that you are perfect and start paying attention to whether your values actually fit together. Do they respect you? Do they communicate honestly? Do they make an effort? Do they listen? Do they support your growth? Can you disagree without destroying each other? Can you trust them? Can they trust you? Because sometimes we become so focused on being chosen that we forget to evaluate the person doing the choosing. You can spend months trying to make someone fall for you, only to discover that the relationship you were fighting for was never healthy for you. That is why genuine attraction requires reciprocity. You move toward them, they move toward you. You show interest, they show interest. You make space for them, they make space for you.